Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I'm here with my friend Connie. Hi, Connie.
Hello.
We are studying the text of A Course in Miracles, and we left off with chapter 14 in the middle of section 3, the decision for guiltlessness. And we're going to just review a little bit. If I remember correctly, we left off paragraph 10 or 11, but we're going to review anyway. So let's see. Okay, so guiltlessness is a decision. Now, most of us, well, for me, I had never seen guilt as a decision. I always saw guilt as, okay, you're condemning me, right? And you're saying I did something wrong and that I hurt someone or something like that. Um, and basically, it's saying that what I do, okay, can attack, that my doing is the cause of attack. Is that your experience too, Connie, of guilt? Yeah. Okay. So therefore, I'm also going to believe that you can attack. Okay. And um, and in order to believe that we can attack, we have to identify ourselves with being a body, right? Okay. Because we feel hurt. So when we feel hurt, maybe even when someone says some mean words to us and we feel hurt, it still feels as if we are feeling the hurt in the body. We feel in our heart that we're hurt, something like that. Okay. So we're identified with the body, and therefore, um, we have forgotten, okay, that the mind is causal because we're making the body the cause of pain, of what you do and what you say. So we make doing, which is really behavior, we're making that level causal. Instead of, my interpretation of what is happening here is the cause of how I'm feeling now. Okay. All right. So that's actually level confusion. And sin is based on level confusion because we believe that what we do is sinful and therefore makes us guilty. And we also believe that what we do has the power to upset God. Okay, because that's what sin is. It's an offense to God. Connie, do you have a question? No? Okay. Now, of course, it's easy to accept that and believe that because when we're little, a lot of times our parents corrected us or punished us when they were really upset because of what we did. Okay. And it seemed like they were telling us, you little boy or little girl are the cause of my upset. Okay. And therefore you hurt me in some way. And now I'm going to punish you for it. Okay. Because I'm entitled to punish you because you attacked me. Do you see that? Okay. So when the parent is not aware that the mind is the causal level, then they don't accept responsibility for their emotional reactions and for their own hurt. And therefore, they project it onto the child, onto whoever. Okay. But if you have children, it's really easy to just project that onto the kids and call them, a bad kid. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. So here, okay, let's look at paragraph 2, because this is how we're using guilt here. It says, perhaps you are accustomed to using guiltlessness merely to offset the pain of guilt, and do not look upon it as having value in itself. Okay. You believe that guilt and guiltlessness are both of value, each representing an escape from what the other does not offer you. You do not want either alone, for without both, you do not see yourself as whole and therefore happy. Yet you are whole only in your guiltlessness. Okay, so this is why we project. Okay, because we believe that there's guilt and there's guiltlessness. And projection, which is finding fault, means that we know who the guilty one is and that we're justified in the attack and blaming them. Okay. And we think that that makes us guiltless. Okay. Because you are the guilty one. So therefore, I am not the guilty one. Yeah. So that's projection. That's a whole loop of projection there. Okay. And we think that that is how we become whole. Because remember that innocence is wholeness. Okay. So in trying to make ourselves innocent and whole, we use guilt and guiltlessness to project, okay, and split the mind. Okay, so we can think that we can be guiltless while you can be guilty as one creation of God. You see that? Okay, all right. So, and of course, that's not possible, because if we're one creation of God, there can be no separation between me and my brother. And so what happens is, even when I project guilt onto you, I'm actually unconsciously repressing it, or I wouldn't be able to project it. The Course says that only the guilty attack. Okay. All right. So, and so look at paragraph 3. There is no compromise that you can make with guilt and escape the pain that only guiltlessness allays. Okay, so that's kind of what I was saying, is that what we try to do is hold on to guilt and guiltlessness and compromise, because we think that that's how we're going to avoid the pain of punishment. Okay, okay, because feeling and thinking that I'm guiltless says, okay, I don't have to punish myself. Nobody's going to punish me. I'm good. I'm safe. Okay. But it doesn't work that way. Okay. Because we are one self. So what I give, if I give attack, project guilt onto you, it means that I am unconsciously holding on to the guilt, or I would not be able to project it onto you, because I cannot give what I don't have. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, and let's see. Continuation in paragraph 3, line 3. Whenever the pain of guilt seems to attract you, remember that if you yield to it, you are deciding against your happiness and will not learn how to be happy. Okay, and then, and then it kind of goes through this little paragraph here, which is kind of a summary. Okay, what I experience, I will make manifest. Okay. So if I am guiltless, I have nothing to fear. Okay. Now this is kind of interesting because what I experienced, I was looking at that and saying, well, wait a minute. I thought that what I experience is what happens to me as a body. Okay. But this is no, this is saying that what I experience it in my mind. You see, because I have to interpret. So events in the world between bodies, their actions, a police report will try to give you facts, hopefully, um, and not interpretation. So you get witness reports and all of that, right? Because you want to establish the facts, what happened and then what happened and then what happened. Okay. But those facts then get interpreted. Okay, because you have to give motive to those facts. They have to prove motive in court, right? So to make someone guilty, you not only have to look at the facts, but you have to prove motive and stuff like that. So I make up my experience of what happened based on my interpretation of it. That's why two or more can have the same experience, can have the same event, can be in the same event at the same time that it occurred, and yet have different experiences of it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. It's because the experience is actually the interpretation of what happened. In that experience is in our mind. We make conclusions about people. We make judgments. They're a bad person. I'm a bad person. I did this. They did this. So we have these conclusions in our mind as experience, which we call the past. And we use that as the reference point for projection. And so that's what we make manifest, which means that this experience will keep repeating in different forms or similar forms because it's unhealed. It's our own ideas. It's our own learning. This is about the happy learner. Yeah, well, we taught ourselves to imagine and interpret things based on the reference point, okay, of being a separate individual ego body self. And that's a foundation that's not true. That's not truth. Okay. All right. Okay. So anyway, that's why later it says, I choose to testify to my acceptance of the atonement, not to its rejection. So, okay. All right. So let's see. Let's go back to paragraph 5. The miracle teaches you that you have chosen guiltlessness, freedom, and joy. Okay, and that is not a cause, but an effect. Okay. So, let's go one line up on paragraph 4, line 6. You are guilty or guiltless, bound or free, unhappy or happy. Okay. And the miracle, and the source of the miracle is love, teaches us what we have chosen, that we have chosen love. Okay. When we experience guiltlessness, freedom, and joy. And those are effects of us making the decision for love, for innocence. Yeah. So it means that the mind is not projecting, and so the mind is the right mind. Yes, so the source, line 2 can be confusing. It says, paragraph 5, it is not a cause, but an effect. Um, so, so the miracle is not a cause, it's an effect, because the cause is the only cause there is, and that's eternal love. Yeah. So the result is the miracle, which is healing. And it is witnessed to by freedom, joy, and guiltlessness. Okay, paragraph 6. No penalty is ever asked of God's Son except by himself and of himself. Okay. So God, being eternal love, cannot be punishing. He's not asking for penalties. He's not a fearful God. But a lot of us grew up believing differently. Okay. Okay, go to 7. Okay, the way to teach the simple lesson is merely this: guiltlessness is invulnerability. Okay, therefore, make your invulnerability manifest to everyone. Okay, so the decision for guiltlessness is really a decision for love, for the miracle, for forgiveness. And it is the lesson that teaches us we are invulnerable to attack, to hurt, because we are innocent. Okay, line 3 there. Teach him that whatever he may try to do to you, your perfect freedom from the belief that you can be harmed shows him that he is guiltless. Okay, so when we don't condemn, when we don't project guilt, when we don't get upset at our kids because they did something wrong, okay, we're teaching them that in our perfect freedom, they are guiltless because they cannot harm us. Do you see that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're teaching them that they do not have power to attack, which is the truth. The mind cannot attack. Okay. And if the only thing that can attack in the world of illusion is the body. So if we teach that we can attack and that others can attack us, we're teaching ourselves that we are bodies, and we're teaching others that we are bodies. Okay. Which is not true. So that's why we're learning to let go of our own learning. Okay, so let's see. So the rest of it is, let's see, paragraph 8. God is only cause with a capital C, and guilt is not of him. Okay. So if God is the only cause and there are no other causes, okay, then guilt is unreal. It is made up by our imagination that believes we have separated from God and have usurped the power of God, and that our judgment now can condemn and make others and ourselves guilty, which is all unreality. Okay. Okay, line 9. Whenever you choose to make decisions for yourself, you are thinking destructively, and the decision will be wrong. Okay. So we want to, okay, we want to give decision making to the Holy Spirit to decide for us for God. Okay, because our self has taught itself that what is not true. So if we choose to make decisions by ourselves, we are choosing to use the past as a reference point for what we learned, which is not true. And therefore, the decisions will be wrong. Okay. Yeah, you're thinking destructively. So, because there's going to be fear. There's going to be fear in there. And yeah. Okay, line 2, it will hurt you because of the concept of decision that led to it. It is not true that you can make decisions by yourself or for yourself alone. Okay, because we're not separate in truth. So the next line says, no thought of God's Son can be separate or isolated in its effects. Every decision is made for the whole sonship, directed in and out, and influencing a constellation larger than anything you ever dreamed of. Okay. So the Son of God as mind, okay, is not an individual, separated, isolated, private mind, brain, okay, because that would be body. And so any decisions made from that place is being made from the ego thought system as the reference point. And it's going to support the itself. It's going to support the belief in separation. Okay, let's start with 10, Connie. Do you want to read it?
Okay.
Oh, hold on a second. I forgot to share the screen. Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought I had it here. Can you see it?
Not now. You did at one
Oh,
point.
here. How about now?
No, that's the index.
Okay, let me go chapter 14. But you can see the index.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to section
There we go.
3.
Chapter 14.
Okay. All
Great.
right. Okay, let me go to 10.
Paragraph 10.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Those who accept the atonement are invulnerable. But those who believe they are guilty will respond to guilt because they think it is salvation and will not refuse to see it and side with it. They believe that increasing guilt is self-protection, and they will fail to understand the simple fact that what they do not want must hurt them. All this arises because they do not believe that what they want is good. Let's see here. Yet, will was given them because it is holy and will bring to them all that they need, coming as naturally as peace that knows no limits. There is nothing their will fails to provide that offers them anything of value. Yet, because they do not understand their will, the Holy Spirit quietly understands it for them and gives them what they want without effort, strain, or the impossible burden of deciding what they want and need alone.
Yeah.
just what you were talking about there, thinking that guilt is self-protection up in line 3.
Yeah.
But you go ahead.
Yeah, Connie, you're right there. So, okay. So accepting the atonement is accepting that we are created as one creation, Son of God. Okay. And we are created holy, innocent. And that's strength. We're created loving. We are love. That's invulnerability. Okay. And it's invulnerability because the mind that recognizes that cannot attack and therefore does not see attack. And it's Holy Spirit vision that sees only innocence in everyone. And that's the truth. Okay. So, but if we believe that we are guilty, it means that we have not accepted the atonement and believe we can be separate. And therefore, we're going to need to protect ourselves from attack. And we're going to make that our salvation. Okay. And we're going to hide it to be able to side with it. Because once we make it our salvation, we're going to protect it so that we are not condemned, so that we are not damned, so that we are not those that are not saved. And that's why they believe that increasing guilt is self-protection by projecting it onto others. So it's hard to let go of guilt when we think that God has abandoned us, or that we were so powerful we were able to separate from God. Okay, let's see. Okay, line 5. All this arises because they do not believe that what they want is good. Okay, so once we believe we're separate, we think we have our own individual will. And we call that wanting. This is what I want. That's my will. I have free will. I can do whatever I want. Okay. But because what we want and what we do to get what we want, okay, requires attack, or deception or whatever, we think that our will is not good. Right here, what they want is, they don't believe that what they want is good. Okay, so you can feel that you're attracted to guilt, guilty pleasures. So because we're attracted to guilty pleasures, we think that our will is bad. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's not true. Our will is good. Line 6, yet will was given them because it is holy. You see, and not only is it holy, okay, but it brings us everything that we need, coming naturally as peace that knows no limits. There's no scarcity in holy will. Okay, and so the mind doesn't entertain ideas of survival. Okay, doesn't entertain ideas of I got to fend for myself. It doesn't entertain ideas of it's you or me, and it's you got me, so now it's vengeance time. So all of those ideas are meaningless because the mind recognizes that it's holy, and that it's one mind. So it's complete invulnerability because it's total, perfect protection. Okay. Yet, because we do not understand our will in this way, we need to open the mind to the Holy Spirit that will quietly understand it for us and give us what we want without effort, strain, or the impossible burden of deciding what they want and need alone. So what it means is that we don't have to worry about manifesting anything, trying to alone manifest what we need, what we want, okay? With a lot of effort. It's all taken care of for us because we're not trying to do it for ourselves alone, meaning we have not accepted the atonement. Okay? All right. Okay, 11 here. It will never happen that you must make decisions for yourself. You are not bereft of help, and help with a capital H that knows the answer. Would you be content with little, which is all that you alone can offer yourself, when he who gives you everything will simply offer it to you? He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God. Ask it not, therefore, of yourself. Instead, accept his answer, for he knows that you are worthy of everything God wills for you. Do not try to escape the gift of God he so freely and so gladly offers you. He offers you but what God gave him for you. You need not decide whether or not you are deserving of it. God knows you are. Okay, so this is a really important paragraph because a lot of us will reject good things that come into our lives because we believe that we are right about ourselves and that we are unworthy of good things. A lot of times people call that self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Yeah, so it's a gift, and God offers it freely, and we just need to be glad and grateful, and receive and be open to receiving. Okay, when we try to do everything on our own and alone, we block the mind from being open to receiving, because there's a lot of pride and arrogance in the ego thought system, believing that we have that we are self-made, self-created, and separate from God. Yeah, so we want to just let's see. We want to let go of our own learning. That's I think earlier we were talking about the happy learner. Okay, number 12, Connie.
Would you deny the truth of God's decision and place your pitiful appraisal of yourself in place of his calm and unswerving value of his Son? Nothing can shake God's conviction of the perfect purity of everything that he created, for it is wholly pure. Do not decide against it, for being of him, it must be true. Peace abides in every mind that quietly accepts the plan God set for its atonement, relinquishing its own. You know not of salvation, for you do not understand it. Make no decisions about what it is or where it lies, but ask the Holy Spirit everything and leave all decisions to his gentle counsel. Gentle counsel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Very different from the counsel, quote unquote, of the ego.
Yeah.
Not gentle, but okay, 13. Oh, let's see. Anything there? It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, 13. The one who knows the plan of God that God would have you follow can teach you what it is. Only his wisdom is capable of guiding you to follow it. Every decision you undertake alone but signifies that you would define what salvation is and what you would be saved from. The Holy Spirit knows that all salvation is escape from guilt. You have no other quote unquote enemy. And against this strange distortion of the purity of the Son of God, the Holy Spirit is your only friend with a capital F. He is the strong protector of the innocence that sets you free. And it is his decision to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. Okay. So, the Course does not teach the meaning of love, but it teaches the removal of blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So this is sounding to me like it's saying the same thing. The blocks would be the undoing of everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. Now, obviously, an unclouded mind would not have any blocks. so that could be a little, what's it saying here? Well, in truth, okay, the mind is pure. Okay, so any block that would obscure our innocence would be ideas of guilt that are not real. So the blocks that we are learning to release are blocks that are illusory. So all the undoing is an undoing of dream figures, illusions, made up imaginings. That's why there's no loss in healing, Holy Spirit. There's no, we're not losing anything because everything that we made up, even though we protect it, that's the problem. The problem is that we protect it, so we have made it valuable. That's what we were reading a little earlier, right? We've given value to guilt along with guiltlessness. So that's the only reason why we would think that there would be any loss in healing or in undoing. And when we believe that, then there's going to be a fear of healing with a miracle. So, we opt for the magic stuff, which is okay because we don't want to increase the fear. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. 14.
Yeah, I just love that. Sentence 4. All salvation is escape from guilt.
Yeah.
We have no other enemy but guilt. Really simplifies it.
Very simple. Yeah. 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 So basically the decision for guilt then is salvation.
No, the decision for guiltlessness
Oh,
is
sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And for the ego, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
14. Let him, therefore, be the only guide that you would follow to salvation. He knows the way and leads you gladly on it. With him, you will not fail to learn that what God wills for you is your will. Without his guidance, you will think you know alone and will decide against your peace as surely as you decided that salvation lay in you alone. Salvation is of him to whom God gave it for you. He has not forgotten it. Forget him not, and he will make every decision for you, for your salvation and the peace of God in you.
Mhm. Yes, there's that little prayer, Holy Spirit, decide for God for me today. And somewhere in here, it's also saying that, it's in the morning you can say, okay, well, what kind of day do I want to have? So we set the intention, for having a peaceful, joyful day, and then give the Holy Spirit the decision making power to decide for God, for us, so that we can have that kind of day. And it is possible to have those kind of days, because if we don't jump in and try to decide on our own, if we stay out of the way and so it really asks for trust, total trust, in the Holy Spirit, and not in our own past learning. Like, oh, what do? We tend to go back to the past. Okay, well, this, and this, our own little resources, rather than turning it over to the Holy Spirit and trusting that, our highest good will come.
Yes. It's like using the internet rather than my puny little brain.
Let's say, and really going to the link for knowledge, because even the internet is not knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. So we confuse it with knowledge, because we confuse information with knowledge. But information is just made up stuff too. So that's why it changes. You have to keep updating everything, right? Knowledge doesn't change, it's absolute truth.
Oh, yes, I got another one today to update.
Yeah. And the same with any other kind of worldly, whether it's medicine or whether it's science, it's always updating and learning new discoveries. But because it's it's all based on perception, it's not based on knowledge, so it's always going to be lacking. And there's interpretation in there. Okay, 15. Seek not to appraise the worth of God's Son, whom he created holy. For to do so is to evaluate his Father and judge against him. And you will feel guilty for this imagined crime, which no one in this world or heaven could possibly commit. The Holy Spirit teaches only that the quote-unquote sin of self-replacement on the throne of God is not a source of guilt. What cannot happen can have no effects to fear. Be quiet in your faith in him who loves you and would lead you out of insanity. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Never forget the love of God who has remembered you. For it is quite impossible that he could ever let his son drop from the loving mind, capital M, where he was created and where his abode was fixed in perfect peace forever. Okay, so yeah, so this is a habit I think that we want to really look at, is the idea of appraising the self-worth, the worth of the individual self, because we're not recognizing that we have inherently infinite value as God's son. And so to try to appraise the worth of someone is to evaluate the Father and judge against him, because what we're saying is that the value that the Father, capital F, that God created us with is something that can be changed and therefore is not absolute truth and absolute power, and that our own judgment is greater than that. So that's why over here it talks about the sin of self-replacement. Okay, because when we evaluate the worth of ourselves or others, okay, what we're saying is that the power of our judgment is greater than God's. Yeah. And that's why we will feel guilty, because we believe we have usurped the power of God for this imagined crime. And it's imagined because we can judge anyone any way we want, but it does not, it has no effects, okay? Unless it appears to have effects when the other person accepts the judgment and believes it themselves. And it's only because they believe it themselves that it seems to have effects. Okay, so yeah, so to believe in sin is to believe that I have put myself in the place of the throne of God as judge now. And it's not a source of guilt, okay, because it's not true. It's a delusion. It's insanity. We can't do that. What cannot happen can have no effects to fear. Okay. All right. So yeah, never forget the love of God. And really the love of God is really what connects us with our worthiness, because it's unconditional. And if you can connect with the unconditional, eternal love of God for his son, for creation, for what we are, then nothing else can change that sense of, let's see, the recognition that nothing in the world has power to change that, because I am as God created me. So judgment, by my brothers, condemnation, whatever, of myself, is not going to change that. Okay, because there's no separation. That's what 8's saying. We're still, his son is still in the loving mind of God, where he was created. And that's our home. That's his abode, where we are in perfect peace forever, and not dreaming of being a character or body, an individual ego in an illusion of separation. Okay, 16.
Just that definition of self-worth is just, that's what you just said is really helpful. I mean, it's only just remembering that the love God has for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that it's unconditional, okay, because it's not worldly. It's not, it's not my parent who's going to, get pissed off because I did, I spilled the milk on the table or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 16. Say to the Holy Spirit only, decide for me, and it is done. For his decisions are reflections of what God knows about you, and in this light, error of any kind becomes impossible. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all you cannot know, when all knowledge lies behind every decision the Holy Spirit makes for you? Learn of his wisdom and his love, and teach his answer to everyone who struggles in the dark. For you decide for them and for yourself.
Mhm. So deciding for them and for yourself is a recognition of one mind. So let's see. Line 3, why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all you cannot know? I mean, we have a lot of problem with not knowing something. We go into like fear and survival and, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I have this problem. I don't know the answer. I got to research the internet. So, almighty internet. So decide for me, okay, and it is done. Holy Spirit. Wow. I mean, talk about joining a decision for, um, let's see, a decision to recognize that the will of God is also my will. No separation. Yeah. Okay. 17. How gracious it is to decide all things through him whose equal love is given equally to all alike. Exclamation point. He leaves you no one outside you. And so he gives you what is yours because your Father would have you share it with him. In everything, be led by him, capital H, and do not reconsider. Trust him to answer quickly, surely, and with love, capital L, for everyone who will be touched in any way by the decision. And everyone will be. Would you take unto yourself the sole responsibility for deciding what can bring only good to everyone? Would you know this? No, we wouldn't, because because we because we believe that we left knowledge. We believe we separated from knowledge, and now we're stuck with perception, which is, not very reliable. We always have to check ourselves for errors. So it's limiting. I mean, the body's 5 senses are so limited. We have telescopes and microscopes to see beyond. So why would we take sole responsibility for deciding what would bring good to everyone. We have no way of knowing that. And we have to trust that the Holy Spirit, which is our higher mind, does. Okay, so 18, Connie?
You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator, yet you remain in close communication with Him and with everything that is within Him as it is within yourself. Unlearn isolation through His loving guidance and learn of all the happy communication that you have thrown away but could not lose.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, all that happy communication gone by the wayside, but it's still there.
It's still there because it's the Holy Spirit. It's our link. So we want to be open to guidance from the Holy Spirit. We want to, give the Holy Spirit our decisions, so we can decide for us, for God, because we have made this unnatural habit of closing the mind to that guidance and deciding for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, 19. Whenever you are in doubt what you should do, think of His presence in you and tell yourself this and only this. He leadeth me and knows the way, which I know not. Yet He will never keep from me what He would have me learn. And so I trust Him to communicate to me all that He knows for me. Then let Him teach you quietly how to perceive your guiltlessness, which is already there. Okay. So here's so you notice that this is not called a prayer, even though it reads a little bit like a prayer. It says, and tell yourself this. So it's a reminder to ourselves of what is true. And that's the Holy Spirit. It's the part of our mind that still remembers the truth for us. And it is us. That's our real mind. And so we need to trust that. We need to give trust to our real mind, our right mind, where the Holy Spirit abides and where the communication link is to knowledge and to communication directly with God. Okay, and so we are learning to perceive ourselves guiltless because it's already there. Not because we're making it up, but because it's already there. It's the truth.
I like that first part. Let Him teach you quietly how to perceive. So we really have to just shut up and listen. I mean, stop. Yeah.
Yeah, the stillness in the stillness is really important because it brings you into the present moment.
Well, so you can hear what you need to hear. And I had a really experience with that this week. I did not know what to do about something. And I put it out there. And it wasn't for several days that I got an answer. But I knew that when that answer did come to me, it was a quiet knowing. And I knew that was the truth and responded from that. So that was really cool when, I can actually have those experiences. It really,
Yes,
yeah, it was like,
yes,
that's the way, you
yes.
know,
And
so with
you trusted because you waited. See?
well, and sometimes it's hard to wait for
Yeah,
things. I'm glad I did have time, but yeah. So yeah.
yeah. And if you go back to paragraph 17, this is what kind of caught my eye here too, is line 5. It says, trust him to answer quickly.
Hmm.
See, surely.
That's
And
quickly.
mhm, yeah, it
But it
does say,
doesn't always come quickly.
well, that's what you're teaching yourself. That's what we teach ourselves. That's that's
Hmm.
why that's a block. So it
Hmm.
takes a while to receive it.
Hmm.
I think because I think knowledge is instant, but then there's these beliefs around time that get in the way, right? Because the minute that you ask to give the decision over to the Holy Spirit, I mean, it's instant. Now the response, okay, is a matter of bringing ourselves, like you said, to that place of stillness. So maybe it's a matter of training our mind to stay in that place of stillness so we don't block the communication.
Actually, now reflecting on that, I did get an immediate answer that
Ah,
I need do nothing
oh, there you go.
in that moment.
There you go.
Just, yeah. So then it did come a couple days later.
There you go.
Oh,
There.
thank you for making that clearer about the quickly part.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the blocks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, this was just a lovely, lovely section. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Wonderful reminder. Okay. So that's the end of the section for the decision for guiltlessness. Um, and next time we will, oops, let me just go back, scroll up to the top here. So next time we'll do section 4, your function in the atonement. Okay,
Very good.
so unless
Okay.
there's any questions, that should do it. Is that it,
Thank
Connie?
you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Great.
bye.